Hi everybody, this is Damien from Legend Life. With our Legend Stories, we look to interview inspiring people who have discovered and are living their purpose. People who are out there making a difference and looking to positively impact the world. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Isaac Kenyon. Isaac is an adventurer, motivational speaker, and also known as Mr. Enthusiasm. So Isaac has rowed across the Atlantic. He swum across the English Channel. He also has a world record for indoor rowing. He has also summited Mt.Kilimanjaro and is about to embark on a new challenge, which will see him ride the length of the UK. So Isaac, how are you today?
I'm very good, thanks. Hopefully that was an enthusiastic hello. That matched the name. It's quite an entrance when you get called Mr. Enthusiasm, isn't it?
Yeah. So, well, during the talk, we can talk a little bit about that. But certainly, you've got a very interesting story that I think will be of value for our listeners. So, to get started, maybe give us a little bit of a background about yourself, and then how this journey of yours to becoming an adventurer kind of like got started.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I'm a full adventurer. I'd say I'm more of a hobbyist adventurer. So I am just like everyone else. I work a normal job, but I do a lot of passion and purpose in my job and in my hobbies, and it's all connected. But before that, it wasn't connected, and that was about 5 years ago. So I went to university and I studied geology. I used to be really big into the swimming. I used to swim probably about maybe 24 to 30 hours a week in an indoor pool, just trying to shred times and get faster and faster. And I was at university, and I guess I had a midlife crisis at a very young age. I call it the quarter life crisis. And I was sitting in class, probably around third year, and I was just staring at a screen, and I just felt overwhelmed, and my mental health, obviously, at this point was slipping. And I had this weird existential thought process at that time where I envisioned myself outside of my body, looking at myself, sitting there, staring at a screen. And then there was a clock in the background just going tick, 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 and you just see it going day after day. And is this realization that all my social life in a younger generation was all on social media. All of my work, everything I was doing at university was pretty much on computers. All my coursework was on computer. I was spending like maybe 12 hours a day on a PC looking at a screen. And I thought I guess I was doing that for a couple of years, and I just realized I need to cut. Like, is this my life? So I had that existential, is this it for the next? And then I started thinking about myself on my deathbed, thinking about all those memories, LED screens. I was like, no, can't, gotta change this. Gotta change this. So I had this bit of a radical move, and my anxiety was terrible. I wasn't sleeping at night well, and I had to mix it up. And I think it was like a mate of mine, or someone said to me, I don't know who it was. Someone said to me, just go for a walk in the woods. And I went for a walk in the woods, and I never even thought of that because I was so sucked into this, messaging everybody, keeping in contact with everyone, social media, and doing my work and pumping out so much mileage on my keyboard, and just pretty much just not focusing on my mental or physical health at all, or understanding what my purpose was. I completely was lost because I was just feeding into this world of marketing and PC screens. And I went in the woods, and it gave me this weird breaking moment. And at that point, I just thought to myself, okay, I got to do more. I just feel so good right now. I just feel amazing. Like, what is this? And it's just like literally trees in nature. It can't be that much of a big deal, but it's huge. And since then, it went from doing more and more outdoor activities to sort of balance my digital lifestyle. And I realized that my purpose at that point was changing from being a computer mongrel to someone who was getting a bit more outdoors and enjoying outdoor activities, to the point where I actually thought this is like a massive health solution to a huge crisis that we're going through. The whole younger generation right now is just completely on their phones, glued to their screens. Everything is online. Jobs are now online, and no one is being able to see through the notifications, the marketing campaigns, and because there's just so much being thrown at you at once, how on earth can you think? You can't think. You can't think for yourself. So how on earth can you choose your own purpose or what you want to do if you're completely bombarded by all this stuff 24/7? So that disconnect and getting outdoors and nature completely revolutionized my life. And for me, it was the biggest game changer because it was just me, my head, and bliss all around me. And all I could think about was things that were in my head and not things being thrown at me. And I think that's something that tends to happen when we go into workplaces, and especially corporate jobs. You're working so hard on that PC. You're working real long hours. You're pleasing the boss. You're pleasing people. And then you've got the social media aspects and all that stuff. And you've got that instant gratification now, like texts are, you got to reply straight away or else that person's going to hate you for the rest of their lives. Like, do you know what I mean? You've got this weird pressure. You're just stuck in this race. And I think for a lot of people, that they say, oh, I don't know what I want to do in life. I'm stuck in life. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then they do, like, they go on the travel trips that the Facebook ad tells them. They go on and they just literally do things what are coming to them as notifications, and they're just doing those things, but they're not actually pulling themselves away from all of this persuasion and all this stuff to actually think about what do they really care about and what do they really need. And that was me at that time. I was not thinking about what I really cared about in life. And when I was in the woods, after about maybe 10 times I did it, a few times like breaking up my day, going out in the woods, I took a notebook and I just started writing down my thoughts, just writing down what was coming into my head. I was like, Jesus, this stuff is golden. I really want to do this. Oh my God, how can I do it? And suddenly all my answers and all of my inner desires just started coming, and they were inside me the whole time. But I was just completely blocked by societal pressures, from social media to work deadlines to this. And all I needed was that disconnect in nature to sort of discover all these things. And I wanted to be an adventurer. I wanted to do outdoor stuff. I wanted to get out there, try new sports, try new environments and see new things and just grow as a person. That's what I wanted to do. But I was suppressing myself because I was just in this race with society, and I needed that break, that disconnect, just to figure it out. So yeah, that's my backstory, and that's how I kind of swayed into this world of adventures and things. And there's a lot more steps to the process. You know, I was literally taking a walk in the woods. That was my baby steps, and then these steps took in, they went into leaps and into massive jumps and stuff like that. But all I needed was that little break to break the cycle up.
No, very good. So after this journey, so what would you define as your purpose?
To learn. I want to learn I like doing new things, learning. I like it challenging. So I want something where I have to learn to overcome the challenge. So I actually actively seek problems and try to find solutions to them. And in the act of doing that, I'm learning. And then on the back of that, there's a massive satisfaction of helping people from what you've learned to solve that solution. So my main purpose now is to find big problems and try and solve them and learn and help people in the process. And that's it. And I find that right now I do that in my work. I work in the energy transition space, working with data and technology to try and enhance our knowledge on what are the best and viable solutions for the future, which is a massive problem, as we all know. And I'm in the heart of it and I love it. And then that's in my workspace. And then in my personal space, I'm doing big campaigns, trying to sort of protect the green spaces and outdoors, because I know that as humans, we are taking from these spaces so fast, and they were so important to me in getting me out of this cycle, that I'm now challenging the norm. How can we regenerate these spaces? What sustainable practices can we do? And I'm using adventure to show all of these different sort of initiatives. So I'm using adventure to now connect the dots of all these sort of regenerative, sustainable methods, rewilding to peatland restoration to building houses differently, and using adventure to connect the dots, and now doing documentary on this to raise one, awareness, education, but also maybe public sway to invest in these initiatives so that we can reverse the big change that we're going into now. So if I take it down to a simple level, it's to learn, to challenge, and to help others. That's my purpose. And then what I'm doing are it looks like I'm doing adventures and I'm working in the energy industry, but fundamentally, those are the things that make my purpose. That's my triangle.
Okay, so before we talk about your most recent or the project you're about to undertake, maybe you can give us a little bit of a kind of step through the various kind of adventures you've done, what you were trying to achieve, some of the charities, because I believe nearly all of your projects have had a kind of like a charitable element to them.
Yeah. So I guess each of the charitable things are because there's problems, and these charities are there to help solve problems. And one of the big skill sets I know of myself is that I'm daring and a bit mad in a sense, that I will just do something a bit out there. But I used to do things that are a bit out there with no reason. But now I have a reason, and it usually is to help solve a problem or raise some funds that can then help solve a problem or something like this. So everything I do now has a charitable aim, charitable initiative, because from doing the challenge, I'm learning, and then afterwards I help others by raising awareness and money for the charity or whoever's watching. So then we started this sort of journey probably age 21. I was getting, just around that time where I was thinking I need to get outdoors. I need to do a bit more stuff like this. I switched, I told you I was indoor swimming.
Yep.
I made a jump to open water outdoor swimming. That was my first thing. I was like, okay, we're going to change this part of my life up. We're going to try this. So why? I had no idea. Someone just said, try it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to say yes to this and just give it a go. Okay. I'm just going to give it a go because, what have I got to lose? So I said yes, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to give this a go. And then I started thinking deeply. I was like, hang on. You need a why, Isaac. You need a why. Or else you're just going back to your old ways where you're just doing things with no reason. And you're why do you want to do this? Like, what is it? What is it that you want to do? And it's like, okay, I want to learn what it's like to really be in an environment of cold water or something, outdoor water. And then, how can you help people? What do you want to help people with? And then, so I started tying things together. And at the time, it was the swimming club at university. We were raising a bit of money for Swim Mobility, which is a charity that helps disabled people to get exercise. And the only way they can do that really safely is pretty much in the water. So we go in there and help them in the water. But those guys, they were short of all of the equipment that they needed. So only a few people could go at a time when there was about 50, 60 people who couldn't go in. So I thought, you know what? Let's raise some money for these people and help them. It's to do with swimming. I'm swimming. Okay, let's do that. How can we raise money? What will make people listen? Okay, let's swim the English Channel. And I heard that in a pub.
Yeah.
Someone was talking about it in the pub, and I said, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to do that. So then decided to swim the English Channel with the club and raise money for the charity. And that was the first challenge. But it was really daunting because I had to learn how to acclimatize to cold water because the water is about 12 degrees.
Yep.
Sometimes a bit less. And you're not allowed to wear a wetsuit when you swim across. You have to just wear Speedos. So it's really, really cold. And you have to acclimatize for that, which I didn't really know of. So I started researching and going into it. And here you go. The learning process is beginning.
Yeah.
I'm going online and I'm finding people. I'm calling them. I'm asking them, hey, you've swum the English Channel, give me some tips, da, 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 da. And you're just learning all this stuff and you're absorbing all this knowledge. And then before you know it, you're down in a fishing lake and you're swimming and you're doing 5 minutes of swimming and you get hypothermia. And then I realized nature is powerful. And I was swimming with clawed hands on the way out. And I was like, this is so dangerous. This is so dangerous. What am I doing? What am I doing? But the buzz, I loved it. I just loved it. It just felt so real. And I felt like I was really living. And I felt like I had a big aim. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to overcome this. Like, okay, it's a bit cold, but, you know, I've already told this charity that I'm doing this thing for them. I've already told all my mates I'm going to do this. Like, this is it. You know, this is the new adventure. I'm on it now. I can't back out. I've given it my all. And that's like one of my tips is as soon as you think of an idea that's really cool, tell everyone you know, and then you'll do it. So yeah, I started increasing the time in the water, and then eventually I was able to spend like about an hour or two in there, and I got used to it, and it was good. So then eventually I had to raise a lot of money and stuff to get the vessel to take me across from England to France. So they were my support vessel with the team, and we did it. It was a really good experience. And then I've done a few other challenges after that. So I decided to make another leap. I was like, okay, English Channel, that got a massive amount of awareness. And I realized that these sort of challenges, people really like them because they're just out of the ordinary and they make people think, wow, you know. And even if, you know, they're not, you could do the challenge, right? And people, you could ask for some money to support the challenge, and people probably won't, but they will support if there's a reason and a story and people want to know why. And that's where the help comes in. So I'm learning, I'm challenging, and then I've got this really cool story where I'm going to help people out of it. And that's where the support comes, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I thought, I want to do more of this. I'm finding myself helping a lot of people by doing this. Let's keep going. And I'm getting a lot out of this. And then I think that's one of my other things I tell people in my talks is that it's what's really good about purpose is that if you figure out that purpose is actually something bigger than you, then you've got purpose.
Yeah.
And it's all about that wider vision. How do you fit in you're in a cog in a wider world, and how can you make the impact that you want to make? So jumping from the English Channel, I went and climbed Kilimanjaro. Similar thing. I raised a bit of money there for a charity to do with educating schools out in that area. That one was quite an interesting adventure because I ended up as a geologist. I was studying geology. I found it quite rewarding to teach people, the porters and the tour guides, the geology of where they were, so that they could then tell that to the next people who come up and tour. So that was a nice give back to the community, and I think that's something that's a little bit sometimes better than money. Is that sort of education on what's going on in geology for them. So yeah, I did that on the Kilimanjaro. Did in 4 days. That was my first time of getting altitude sickness. I got it on the last day, and I was bleeding from my nose because my brain was being crushed. But I had only 2 hours to touch the summit, so I literally pushed through, quickly touched the summit, and ran back down and decompressed, I guess. It was pretty lucky. I reckon another if I had to go another one up, I probably wouldn't have made it. So I was a bit lucky there. And that was great. And then the big one came, which was rowing across the Atlantic Ocean. And I had a friend from uni, and he just said to me, I saw this really cool video of this ocean rowing boat. And there's this challenge where you can row from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean. And I said, what do you mean row? Like, what? Rowing? What? And then he showed me the video, and I was like, holy crap, like people row across oceans. What? And I was like, I don't know what it was about that, but I just thought, right, I come from landlocked UK, like in England, like middle of England. I'm nowhere near like rivers or sea. I've never rowed. I don't know that world. This is new to me. Sailing, I've never done. It's never been out at sea. So I've never rowed, never been out at sea. And I just said yes. I was like, so you see that it's getting like steps, leaps, jumps.
Yeah.
You see? And because the confidence that I can learn anything to overcome any challenge is possible. And I started this methodology of, right, commit, tell everyone you're doing it. Make sure you got a why. Okay, I'm going to do this to help people in this way. So have a charity or some reason why you want to do it. Then after that, you start researching and working out how you're going to do it. Then you start thinking of all the potential problems that could go wrong. And then you start thinking of all the solutions that can make them go right. And then before you know it, you see this Atlantic road crossing as this really daunting task at the start. And you just, over time, you're just breaking it up into tiny little milestones where you're just breaking it into tiny little pieces and you're just solving each little problem at a time. And before you know it, it's so doable and you're so confident, you're so ready.
Yeah.
And that jump, I think, came from learning my why, which I got back at university. So to be able to take those leaps was literally, it started from that leap from that PC screen to taking the walk. And I think that's all it takes, is that once you start that sort of mindset shift of allowing yourself to really think about what you really want to do and what you really want to care about, and actually getting rid of all the distractions, that moment is where you can actually achieve so much in your life. And even if you've got 20 years left, 10 years left, 5 years left, heck, I've met someone who decided to ride the Atlantic at 75 years old.
Yeah.
It's never too late to do these things, and did it. He bloody did it. It's unbelievable. And these people, they're there. They just have that trigger, you know, sometimes that comes from just sitting there and just really thinking about what is your why, what are the things that matter to you, and what are the things that you actually really care about. Because some people say, oh, my purpose is the company purpose.
Yeah.
That's not your purpose.
Yep.
Why did you join the company? What did you hope to achieve? That's more your purpose. Like some people say, I'm here to make more sustainable agriculture or something like this. It's like, is that really?
Yeah.
Like, go down, like go deeper, I think. And I think that you can't really get that sometimes when you're bombarded by notifications and all this stuff. So yeah, the Atlantic Road was a massive leap, and I spent about 3.5 years there. I raised, I think it was about £150,000 just to do it, to get all the equipment, the sponsorship, the insurance, the boat, everything, the knowledge, the training courses, with my team of 4. And then afterwards, we raised £50,000 for Multiple Sclerosis Society.
Yep.
And the why there was my friend who actually asked me to do this from the start. His mother had multiple sclerosis, and it is actually a solvable disease.
Yep.
It's a curable disease, and that is like pretty cool. If you can actually raise enough money to get the research to cure it, you're going to save a lot of lives.
Yep.
And that is a beautiful thing. So that was the why for doing it, and that was the drive. Although it wasn't my mum who had multiple sclerosis, but I knew there was, you know, loads of people who would also equally benefit from this. So that was my why for it. And yeah, took us 40 days from the Canary Islands in La Gomera. We rode unsupported, took all our food with us. We had a water maker on board where we desalinated the seawater. We had solar panels on board to provide electricity, so we could charge all of our devices, as well as our chart plotter, the navigation system, and power our water maker. And yeah, we rode through high seas, 20-foot rolling waves, flat calm seas where it was sticky and there was currents. We rode in storms that were pushing us back for 3 days. And that entire time, I was just thinking. thinking. And I was writing down stuff, what was coming into my head, and that is paved way for my next things, you know.
Yeah.
What I'm up to now, and what I want to help, what I want to learn, what I want to challenge, what solutions I want to make, what problems are there out there. I had 40 days to think about it.
Yeah.
Excellent. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, and it was a life change. Well, it was a life experience. I wouldn't say life changing. I would actually say the biggest life changing experience was that walk in the woods.
Yeah.
Most people would never think of that. To say they were like, oh, surely it was the Atlantic Road. No, trust me, it was actually a lot smaller than that. Yeah.
So,
But in the
well,
process, actually in the process of that Atlantic Road, because we were solution heads, we were like
yeah.
thinking, what are the problems? How do you deal with sleep deprivation? How do you deal with rowing for 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 24 hours a day, 40 days straight? How do you deal with that? So we attempted doing a world record, like longest continual row on an indoor rower. And I
Yeah.
did it for 4 days. 4
Incredible.
days rowing, and it taught me a lot about sort of mental resilience, ways you can talk yourself out of things, the power of the mind. But it was only throwing myself into it that I was able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's another tip as well. Whenever I talk to people about finding purpose, is that sometimes you actually have to start doing things that you've not done before to figure out your purpose as well, to work out what are the things you like, what are the things you don't like. Some people think that they know what they don't like, and then they try it and they actually, oh, I do like that.
Yeah.
I mean, could I tell you now? It's like, hey, Damien, like, I think you might like the Atlantic Row. And you're like, no, I won't like that. But you don't know until you try. You've not done it yet.
Yeah. No, that's true. So, no, very good points. It's very easy to talk yourself out of stuff without ever
What
having
if?
tried it. So, well, tell
We
us
call it
about.
what ifs.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, like you create all these illusionary reasons why it's not possible when obviously it's pretty possible. Most people, if you told them how about going for a row across the Atlantic, they would definitely say no because they would
Financially.
create a whole range of reasons why it's not kind of possible. And as you indicated, well, you guys proved it, and then you have a 75-year-old who's done exactly the same thing because they made a decision
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, and also, I think I'll tell you the main barriers. Oh, it's too expensive. Well, I came out of university with £40,000 debt, no job, and I still said yes to it and made it happen. I managed to get the money, so it's not too expensive. The other
No,
thing is, oh, I don't know how to row. Well, then you can get lessons and learn how to row.
yeah,
I don't know how to sail. Same thing.
yeah, no,
there's so there's a what if, and then there's a solution to every what if.
yeah, no, definitely. So I don't know, I think it's like a Tony Robbins or whatever says something about it's not about the resources you have, it's about being resourceful.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're willing to be resourceful, you can overcome any kind of like lack of what you may have at this particular point of time.
Being comfortable also knowing that you don't have all the answers. Have
Yep,
that comfort that I am not a solution maker. I am not the man of the answers, but I'll tell you, I'll be able to find the answers.
yep. No, very good. Well, tell us about your next project. So, Blokes on Spokes.
Yeah, well, it's changed brand name now.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. Sorry, it's now Pedal Parks.
Okay,
Yeah, well, we were Blokes on Spokes, and then here we go, adapt and overcome. So, in the cycling industry, there's a lot of groundwork being done on getting more women into the sport of cycling and things like this. So, a lot of media outlets do not advocate names like Blokes on Spokes. Is still advertising sort of men who dominate the sport. So,
yep,
we've changed it to Pedal for Parks, which is a bit more message. And yeah, if I tell you all about what's going on, this is really tying in a lot more back in time, where I jumped into the woods and it was really good for my physical and mental health, and it allowed me to find purpose. Now, this project's all about protecting those woods and protecting these environments. And the aim is it's an eco documentary. It's my first time ever doing a documentary. I just decided, let's go for it. Let's make a film. I've never done it before. I don't know
yep,
how to do it. I'm going to figure out. So here we go. So I'm making an eco documentary with my friends, and there's 5 of us in a team. Alex Piero, Lucas Hatesman, Sal Montgomery, Alex Egan, and myself. And we are called Pedal for Parks as a brand. And the initiative here is more about the message rather than the adventure. The adventure just facilitates the journey for a message here. So the journey itself is a cycle from the top of Orkney Islands, which is these bunch of islands off the north coast of Scotland. We're going to cycle across mainland on bamboo bikes. And then we're going to hop on to water bikes. So bikes that cycle over water. I'm not talking pedalo. Think of a spinning bike on two fender, or two floats.
Yeah.
And then a propeller underneath, and you cycle and that turns the propeller. So you're completely exposed. And we're going to cycle across water to John O'Groats, which is the most northern point of Scotland. And then we're going to cycle the whole length of the UK, passing through as many green spaces and national parks as possible to highlight all of the wonderful initiatives and conservation projects that are going on to protect and preserve these spaces. And we're going to do it all the way to the end in Land's End, which is that's the full length of mainland UK.
Yeah.
And then we're going to jump on water bikes again, and we're going to go to the most southern islands called the Isles of Scilly, and that's about a 30-mile cycle over water. And we're going to take all of our kit and the camping and be self-sustained. So it's a bikepacking adventure. The reason why we're doing this is there's tons and tons of really interesting initiatives that are dealing with the climate change problems, are dealing with human impact on the environment. So ecotourism, that as a concept, instead of inviting people to drive into these national parks, what we can do is make electric public transport, park and rides, make bikes more accessible, bike lanes everywhere, so that people can travel around without, cars coming here and polluting and stuff like this. So initiatives like that to initiatives like renewable energy projects. So instead of using oil and gas, there's wind turbines, solar panels. They're now talking about making hydrogen. We're using wave and tidal power, geothermal energy from the ground, which are all less carbon emissions and a lot less impact on the environment. So we won't need so much, I guess, drilling rigs out in the North Sea, which is what we've been using at the moment. But we're going to be, but what we're doing is, instead of falling for the marketing campaign and being like, oh, wind must be the answer because that's the one that everyone's talking about the most, we're going to be comparing and contrasting all of these initiatives to see what actually has the best long-term environmental impact. Because I work in the energy industry, and I know for sure that some of these renewable energies aren't so long-term. And some are more long-term. So I'd like to, let's talk about seeing beyond the marketing campaign, the greenwashing. So we're going to show that. And our aim is to do that with most initiatives. And then we're going to be looking at the supply chain of agriculture. What can we do there? Agriculture, I know we got to feed the population. That's a big deal. But you've got a lot of countryside being eaten up by fields and stuff for planting crops. But there's loads of initiatives like agroforestry, where you can keep your forests and you can grow your crops and have your sheep and everything amongst the forest. So you don't have to walk down the forests, and the biodiversity there. And there's also vertical farming, you may have seen, which is underground basements or in buildings and stuff, where you can actually do a lot of farming there. Instead of eating into the land, you can do that. So loads of initiatives like this. We're going to be interviewing them as part of our documentary along the route. And the aim is to talk and drive public perception of real, tangible, future long-term solutions to our climate change and environmental crisis right now. And one of the starking facts in the UK is 100 years ago, we were 80% forest. Now we're 20% forest. What's going to be in the next 100 years? And for me, the forest was what pretty much saved me from losing my mind and probably going down into, depression, suicide, to be honest. I was in such a rut back in university. That forest was everything. So we really do need to preserve these spaces. I'm saying that because it helped me, but I can probably say to most people during this pandemic, when you're in lockdown, what actually did you care about most? You say your family, friends, and probably the outdoors. So So we need to do that. So this whole documentary, Eco Adventure, it's a world's first. No one's done this before, and it's an incredibly unique experience. And we're just going to talk to inspiring people who've got loads of solutions to our problems, and hopefully the public will get behind them.
Yep. No, brilliant. So how long will you be taking to do this trip?
Yeah, so it'll be 2 weeks, 14 days. We're looking to do on average about 100 miles a day,
Yeah.
80 to 100 miles a day cycling. And we'll probably cover twice the height of Everest over the duration. So it's it's not something you walk into. You need to spend a couple, maybe a year or a year and a bit training for this.
Yeah.
Getting the miles in and understanding or also we have to train a lot on the water, like understand the sea. Fortunately, from Atlantic Road background, one of my team members, he's the youngest to have rode the Atlantic. He rode it at 18 solo, Lucas, in our team for this adventure. And us two, as well as Sal Montgomery, who's an expedition kayaker, she regularly goes around the world kayaking. All of us are pretty much on the water bike section, making sure that it's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not going to do it on our own. We've got a pilot boat who's going to come alongside us, the fisherman. He knows the waters to make sure it's safe. So these are other problems that we could think of.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do it on our own, and then we mess up, get stuck in a whirlpool, because the first bit of water that we're crossing in Scotland is one of the most dangerous tidal streams in the world.
Yeah.
It's got whirlpools, it's got really big swell. And what we need to do is just choose the right weather window. And you'd be foolish to do this without expert knowledge of the local area.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Awesome. So throughout all of these adventures, challenges you've kind of undertaken, have there been any moments where you kind of like wanted to give up or questioning yourself at least, what the hell am I doing?
Oh yeah, I pretty much probably question myself every day now. Yeah, I do, because I've just let my mind go wild. I've accessed it to a point where I just let it do its thing rather than conform to what everyone else tells me to do. I just go with what my head's saying, and then I probably start thinking, oh, maybe what am I doing? So sometimes when I was in the middle of the Atlantic and I was in a storm at 3 a.m, I had to get out my shift and it's a big storm and you got all this lightning around you, massive seas. I'm thinking to myself, hey, how did we get here?
Yeah.
And I did hit the wall on many of these challenges, and sometimes I hit the wall before I even do the challenges, where I'm thinking it in my mind, visualizing it in my mind, like what I'm going to go into. I'm thinking I'm hitting walls just before I even do them. And I just have to bring it back to, right, Isaac, why did you do this?
Yeah.
Go back to your why. I wanted to learn, challenge, and help others. That's why I'm here. What are you doing right now? I'm learning, I'm challenging, and afterwards, probably helping others. So here we are. That's why I'm here. And then you go back and you carry on doing.
Yeah. So basically,
you need that why.
Yeah.
You need that why.
So you're saying the thing that drives you all the time is your why. So being very clear on why you're going to undertake something, and then bring it back to that whenever you're feeling down, demotivated.
Yeah, exactly. Some people find a lot of demotivation in the workplace because they don't understand the why, the reason what they're doing, and that can get people down. I am very much, sometimes someone says, do this, Isaac, do that, Isaac, at work, and I'm like, okay, what we're doing this for? And they'll say the reason why we're doing this is because and it knocks onto this. Okay, I see the big picture now. Cool, my motivation's there. I know my why. So then when I'm doing the job and I'm getting that low and I'm getting a bit, this is boring, but I know why we're doing it. It drives me again.
Yeah. No, awesome.
So always questioning.
No, great stuff. So what have been some big obstacles or challenges you've encountered, and then how did you get through them?
Yeah, I'll probably say one of the first challenges was experiencing what it's like to do a real adventure. So when I say adventure, I'm talking something like, for me, that was extremely out of my comfort zone, and it was the first time I jumped into that lake. And I was so stupid and I learned so much. I just naively went to this lake, jumped into this freezing cold lake because that's what they say to do in the English Channel training stuff. And I didn't think about, acclimatizing really. I didn't really research properly. I didn't really ask people enough questions properly. I just kind of went into it. And the biggest challenge there was not being scared.
Yeah.
As in, like, I got to a point where I was in the water and I felt like I was dying. I was like, what's going on? Like, I can't control everything. I felt like getting this weird pain in my stomach, and that was probably my liver getting like going. So I ended up like clawing myself back out of the water and just lying on the ground like shivering. And I was just thinking to myself like, my God, like, do I really want to do this? Maybe I should just go back indoors into the pool and stop doing this. I don't think this is right. This is it. And I think that was my biggest challenge to overcome, was that fear of what I just could put myself into. And I had to really think about my why. At that point, that was the first time where I was like, if I give up now, I'm just going to go back to how I was before and what I was doing before. And that wasn't obviously good for me. So let's keep going, Isaac. Let's get out of this together. So I was just like talking to myself in my head, I guess, a little bit, and just psyching myself up a bit, just saying like, you know what life is like before this. So why don't, you've got nothing to lose, just go for it again. And then next week I was back there. And I had a little bit more, I was a bit scared. And when I edged into the water again, I was like, I know what you can do to me. I know what this water can do to me. So this time I was very careful. I did loads of research beforehand. And one person in the research said, okay, count to 10. And if you can't out loud, and if you can't count to 10, get out. And that's before the onset of hypothermia. That was an amazing bit of research. And then I realized I stayed in for 10 minutes instead of 5. And then the next time I went in 20 minutes, I was, okay, here we go. It was worth sticking to it. But that was a massive challenge to overcome, just the fear of what I had put myself through. And I was quite alone actually at that time, so it was pretty dangerous. Another time where I was I really challenged myself was accepting the Atlantic row with no money, and putting in a tight deadline, and then getting out a sort of a loan, because I was so determined to make this happen. I got a loan out, and then I spent that loan on the entry fee, which is non-refundable, and that was high pressure, really high pressure. So I mean, I had to raise £150,000 in that time, or else I would have lost all that money, which would have wrecked me. So I ended up having to really learn sales, be an entrepreneur, branding, marketing, like go out of my comfort zone I've never done before. And I had to just start something from scratch. And I really had to learn and hone the story of, and this is where I learned the art of why and what I'm doing. Why is your story? And if you're really authentic with it, and as in you're doing it with your heart, and it's your authentic why, you'll be surprised how many people are here to help and support you so that you can support them and others. So it became a leadership example. And I managed to get the money with loads the rest of the team and stuff, but big financial burden straight after university, massive risk. And then another instance of probably overcoming a big challenge. This one was the act of probably changing my behavior. On the Atlantic row, I really had to change my behavior amongst the team. And this was hard. This was basically, it's so powerful being negative. But it's also very powerful being positive. It's so easy to be negative, and it's hard to be positive if you're not used to it. And when you're in tough environments and you're in storms, it's very easy to go negative, like the world is against you. And on that ocean, there was just problem after problem every single maybe 3 or 4 hours there was an issue, and you just felt like everything was against you all the time. It's very easy to go into a negative thought process.
Yeah.
But the challenge and the issue was that if I go into negative, I'm bringing everyone down around me. So in my mind, I was thinking, it sucks for me, but also, if I make it clear that it sucks, it's gonna really suck for everyone else.
Yeah.
And someone else might be in a bad state, and then we're all just not gonna get through this. And it was a huge challenge to keep switching the mindset. And one ways I did that was to overcome it was I made a rule with myself that I would just constantly smile.
Yeah.
Just constantly smile. It like whenever and then I made another rule. Whenever something bad happened, I would purposely laugh it off. So I was a bit psychotic, I guess it sounds, on this boat. But I would just come out of the cabin ready for my shift with a big smile on my face in a storm, and then the oar might smack into my stomach, and I would, instead of going, F this or swearing, just laugh hysterically and just get on with it and be like, ha ha ha, like carry on sort of thing. And I noticed that actually the act of just laughing, because when you laugh, it's like positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you smile, it's positive. Just the act of doing those things, just forcibly doing those things, changed my mindset, which allowed to keep the more of a positive vibe on the boat, which was a great challenge too to do. And I now take that with me wherever I go. So if I come across something that's pretty tough, and it's good, and then it's like giving me negative thoughts, right? You get the negative thoughts. I smile, and in my mind, I'm like, here comes the game.
So did you learn this, or like from reading somewhere, or did you just come up with it yourself?
I pretty much came up with that myself. Like, you have a lot of time to think, and you're just trying to figure out ways to just. I'm like sitting in the boat. I'm like, man, I need to think differently. But the thing is, I don't have many distractions: phones, computers, people around me to kind of. So I'm like, I need to change this. What can I do? I'm gonna smile. Let's see what that. I'm just doing stupid stuff, just seeing if it works. Like, I'm just experimenting,
Yeah.
I'm just seeing if it works, and it works. So I went with it.
Cool. No, brilliant.
I know, it's a bit odd.
No, because I've heard about this as well, that like if you smile, and that naturally kind of brings you up. Like, so
Yes.
I think you kind of like fell onto something that people are probably studying and proving that, you need to do something on this.
I read about that afterwards, actually, the psychology of it. Yeah, I actually did a lot of psychology and mental health stuff after the row.
Yeah.
Because I was doing all these psychological games, I guess, during the row, and I wanted to learn a bit more. So I went into research, and that smart thing actually came out of it. And I was like, okay, cool. That's why I work.
Very cool. So what's your definition of success?
I wouldn't say I have a definition of such, but I would probably say in the moment, if you're feeling good and you're doing something that you're really enjoying, and you're just living that moment, and you're just in that thing, and you're not thinking anything else, and you're just really enjoying, and you've got that, you're successful. And that, to be honest, that could be like, you could be homeless and you just found a new pair of shoes and you're just in that moment. That's success. Like, for me, I don't think it's something that stays with you.
Yeah.
So I know there's that perception of successful people, and they're successful because they got lots of money and they've done all these cool things and these events. Maybe they've done like crazy stunts, entrepreneurial stuff, and they've solved all these problems. And then people say, that doesn't success. For me, that's not success. It's that moment.
Yeah.
So that can be anything. Like, wow, I've just I've learned 2 + 2 4. That's success. Like, just every time. And that's my definition of it. It comes and goes.
Yeah.
A bit like happiness. I think happiness is very similar. Comes and goes. You can't have it all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas you won't know what it's like if you're not.
Yeah. No, definitely. So, no, very good points. So what would you say to someone at this particular point of time is feeling unfulfilled with their life and they certainly haven't discovered their purpose on why they should, number one, put some time into trying to work out what their purpose is, and then some ways they could potentially approach finding their purpose?
Yeah, I think the first step is just being aware that you feel that you're in a rut. Like if someone's already feeling that way, you're already on the right track. I mean, it sounds odd me saying that, but you you need to be self-aware. Some people aren't even self-aware. So if you're
Yeah,
already at that point where you know something's up and something's wrong and not feeling good, you've actually taken the first step already. That self-awareness. And then once you get that self-awareness, there's a lot of things I guess you can start doing that can help you improve it all. So some of those sort of things are writing down a list, and then you can choose what you want that list to be. But writing down a list, I think, helps me a lot.
yeah,
And that could be things that you like to do, things that you don't like to do, things that you'd like to do in the future, things that make you happy, things that don't make you happy. And you can write a list that could be 4 pages long. And then once you've got that list, it looks quite overwhelming. And then what I try to do is I try to rank it all, or when I say rank it all, like put it into like a mind map or something. So I
yeah,
take a list, put it into a mind map, and I say, right, and then draw lines to things like a spider diagram. And I guess you're like drawing your brain, like how your brain works, your neurons,
yeah,
how they all connect. But you're joining things that you like to do together, things you don't like to do together, and you're looking at the common threads. And then within those common threads are quite, I guess, are labels that you could say, what is that genre? What's that thing? That
yeah,
genre there. You've probably formed the genre of multiple things that you like to do that make you happy there. That's a genre. There you go. There you go. And then from there, you do a mind map of those new genres. And eventually you get to maybe one or two, three things that actually mean something to you
yeah,
a lot and you really like to do. And then what you I guess you can do is think about of those two or three things that really mean a lot to you and are that's probably your I guess your purpose there.
yeah,
And then what you want to do now is mold your life around that. So does my career fulfill any of those things? If not, what careers do and can I get there?
yeah,
You probably can. It's just maybe a little bit of jump out of the uncomfortable zone, but maybe there's a career change that would make you happier, because it fits those things that you've formulated outside of your career. What other things can tie into that?
yeah,
And what you'll find is if you mold your life around those key points that you've come up with in your brain from your own list, you'll find that actually you'll be a lot happier, I think,
yeah,
because you're doing stuff that makes you happy
yeah.
because you
No,
wrote it down and that makes you happy.
yeah. No, no, it's very relevant, isn't it? You got to identify what authentically you personally enjoy doing or what makes you passionate. And then, basically
Even
when
if
you
it's
get,
in the past.
yeah, you just got to come to the root of it, like get rid of all the outside kind of influence and just come down to what you want.
I've not met anyone who said to me they don't like they have never liked something.
Yeah,
Is I please do reach out after this podcast if you have because that would be amazing. But I've never ever met someone who says I've never found something I liked. And from that is a really good baseline
yeah,
to start with. Like it's doable.
yeah, definitely. So, what do you want your legacy to be? So, your, you have your purpose kind of defined. Is there an end point or something you're working towards? So, when you are looking back, you go, "This is what I've achieved with my life. This is what I've got. I've left the world."
Yeah, I guess there's that sort of feeling of, you know, I think first and foremost, you want to fulfill yourself You want to fulfill yourself. Like you're in my mind, I'm born alone and I'll die alone, and I have my own life, as in like no one can live this life. This is my life. So if I can fulfill my life, that's great. And that to me is in some way peaceful and bliss
Yeah.
when I'm off into other worlds quickly. But then there's also that aspect of, do you want to fulfill your life or do you want to fulfill others?
Yeah.
Now, there's a dangerous road when you start fulfilling other people. And that's where a lot of people lose their purpose, because they're not fulfilling themselves, they're fulfilling others. And I find that since, doing the things that make me happy and those three things, learning, challenge, and help others as my purpose, triangle, whatever, that thing right there, if I carry on that to the end of my days, that's it, that's my legacy. I've lived and fulfilled my purpose that I
Yep.
wanted to do. So if I stopped doing any of those things at any point, I wouldn't be fulfilling what I care about, which means when I get to that point of rethinking, relooking back on life, I'll regret because I stopped doing the things that were part of my purpose.
Yep.
So my aim now is to just keep going and doing the stuff I love to do and doing these three things.
No, awesome. So, what's your future vision of the world you want us all to live in? So, you're obviously with Pedal for Parks, working towards that to a degree, and then also your work as a physicist. So, what is it, your vision of a future you'd like us all to kind of live in?
Probably a future where everyone is more self-aware of themselves, what they're doing and around them, and also able to live. Because once we, I guess, take too much from the world, there won't be enough to give us back.
Yep.
Because we've taken too much, and there won't be any room for us anymore because there's nothing else left to take. So maybe living in a world where we give more than we take, or give as much as we take.
Yep.
To the very minimum, so we can keep the cycle going. I guess if we keep taking like this, you're talking generation after generation after generation at this pace, there'll be nothing left for anyone.
Yep.
And we'll probably extinct ourselves.
Yep. No,
So if we can start giving as much as we take or give more than we take, I think that would be a lovely world to live in.
Yep. No, great points. Like that point about realizing you're interconnected with everything else and everyone else, and then understanding that you individually do have an impact, and then you need to own responsibility in what you do for whatever happens around you. I think, that's the way we can kind of like get to a point where we are taking less than we need to be taking at this particular point of time.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. A lot of people have this mindset of, oh, I'm very insignificant. I'm 1 in 1 billion or billion. Yeah, what I do doesn't make an impact. Well, how do you think that leaders are able to make such substantial change? Because they're able to convince individual people to behave in such a way that makes that certain change.
Yep.
So you as an individual would be, if you were part of that change, would be very instrumental. So you actually are a very instrumental human. Like you're one person on this planet is actually very, very powerful. Very, very big influence, more so than you think.
Yep.
I find that a lot of people think that they're very insignificant. I'm 1 in 1 billion. Like let me keep doing these bad things. It doesn't matter because it doesn't matter because there's more than enough people doing good things in the world to balance bad things. Or You know,
Yeah.
that sort of mindset. And it's like, well, actually, if you actually look at the world in an overview, there's probably a lot that can be done. And I mean, you're there.
Yep.
You can join the party.
No, most definitely. So closing out, what's your definition of living your best life, or what I call a legendary life?
Legendary life, so good. My definition of living a legendary life is, I would suggest, a life that's worth living for you. My definition of legendary life is a life worth living for you.
No, very good. So last question, what are 3 life lessons you've learnt that you think would be of value for other people?
Self-awareness, breaking the cycle. So basically having that time to think about your life, having that time to think about what you care about, that self-awareness. That was one massive learning curve. The other learning curve is probably similar to what Tony said. Resourcefulness is that although you might have nothing, or you might feel like you are nothing, there are people around you who, given the right sort of message and the right reason why, will help you get to your place, get to where you want to be or what you want to do. You can't be the master of everything. So being resourceful, being self-aware, those 2 things are big life lessons. And the third, I would say, is giving, just the act of giving. So on the process, when I was coming out of university and I was having all those issues, and nature was giving to me, and I'm now giving back. And for some reason, I have this satisfaction that I can't get anywhere else in life. And that act of giving back is really, really, really powerful. And that can be anyone who's helped you in life, or anything that's helped you. Maybe they need some help.
Yep.
But first, self-awareness, and knowing your why, that sort of thing. Fulfilling yourself before you can help others, really. That was what. Yeah. So tying. I'll do a fourth one.
Okay.
Fourth one is, you can't help anyone if you can't help yourself.
Yep.
So sort yourself out before fulfilling others as well. That's a good one too.
Yep. No, brilliant. So, Isaac, it's been wonderful talking to you. Found it very inspirational. I'm sure a lot of other people will. So, if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about yourself personally, and then also your new project, Pedal for Parks, how can I find you online?
Yeah, I've got a website, isaackenyon.com, but I'm also active on social media. I'm on Facebook, Isaac Kenyon. I'm on Instagram is Isaac underscore Kenyon, at Isaac underscore Kenyon. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter. I think, if you just drop me a message, I'm happy to chat.
No, brilliant. Well, thanks again. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on here, Damien. That was brilliant. I really loved the message in this podcast. I think, this is an awesome thing you're doing.